it's fair to say that this collection represents a lifetime effort in putting a collection together.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at what else you've got here. Tell me about this side of the collection. I know that you were telling me earlier about the Boucher over there. Where was that made, and how old is that?
That Boucher is early 30s. Boucher is from the mid-20s to the very early 30s. They bought out Voltamp, which was 2 gauge, and increased the size to standard gauge. And then they continued on the same rolling stock that Voltamp made, only they made it for standard gauge. Except the Blue Comet cars is something that they designed and came out with. I only have 2 of the cars. There's actually 4. Someday I hope to get the other 2.
Now it's a fairly rare set.
Yes, you don't see very many of them around.
But it's a very pretty set. The dark blue colors with the stripe like that make it a very attractive set. And right next to it you've got now the American Flyer Station, but that's a reproduction.
Yes, that's a Union Station, but mine is reproduction. And straddling the Lionel Blue Comet is a crane I made out of the Ives struct iron, which is a construction toy Ives made back in the early teens.
That is really unusual. Tell me about the glass dome station there.
That's an Ives glass dome waiting area. I have behind my Lionel station. And then in the glass dome is an American Flyer Hamiltonian set.
That's a fairly unusual set.
It's they are round, and it's a highly desirable. It's a very colorful set, and it has the ringing bell and the locomotive, and beautiful set.
The Chicago Flyer people like that red with the gray trim.
Yes, they had a lot of that. Then in front of it is what they call the Lionel Baby State set, 318 with the 2-tone brown cars. And this is kind of my standard gauge yard area. It's we bought the house. It had a full basement in it, but didn't really have enough room for the trains to turn around in. So from the post on out, as an addition, we put on the house when we bought the house, so the trains could have an area to turn around, and I could have the yard, and filling it up with all types of little goodies, and seeing it work.
Now you have an interesting combination. First of all, this is all pre-World War II trains that you have here in the collection.
Yeah, right.
And you, I think, have done an outstanding job of incorporating O-gauge with T-rail track in the heart of standard gauge, and neither one of them looks out of place, and I think it's one of the things that makes it very unusual.
Yeah, it worked out real well that way. Problem is, I'm getting more accessories than I have room. And they got into trains somewhere around the turn of the century. Before that, they had trains, but they were pull trains, type of pull on the floor and wind up and so on.
Now tell us about the Meccano bridge on the backdrop there.
Well, that's modeled after the centerfold of the Lionel 1916-1917 catalog. And I had to modify it slightly, but it's basically the same bridge as shown in the Lionel catalog. And then to the left of that is the Erector Bridge.
Yeah, over here with the heavier iron. Now those pieces are about 10 years later anyway.
Oh, they're from the mid-20s up to the 40s and 50s, yeah.
So they made some of those during the 20s too, that style of iron.
They started in 24. Yeah.
Because I know they had it up through the 50s. Pretty unusual for something to stay around that long.
Now I have a little bit, I have an English station there with a little Hornby train in front of it, kind of a little scenic, one of the little scenes, and then a Lionel Mountain in front of it, and the Flyer Station, and a Flyer Tower.
Show us how it actually operates.
And I got the propeller so it runs and everything, but it's still a little too tight up on top. I have to loosen it up. A little noisy. As you look around, I've kind of mixed the door fan and Flyer, Ives, and Lionel kind of up. And the railroad station over here, that's a Lionel from the late teens, early 20s, made by Schoenhut.
I have never heard of them.
They had a catalog, I think, up to about 1922 or so, somewhere.
And those are original cellophane windows and so forth? Then?
Isinglass.
Isinglass.
No, I'm sorry. Those are actually pane glass.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that makes it very unusual.
Let's see, I have a lot of the Ives boxcars up here. I don't have them all, but working on it.
That's the Ives lithographed tin cars back there. You've got both the 8-inch and the 6-inch.
Mm-hmm. And then I have a few of the 4-wheel right here on the end. I only got 4 of those. Then the other 8-wheel short.
Our past national president, Joe Mitchell, wonders how I keep the trains on the shelf at my house with all the earthquakes we have here in California, and I don't see any protection here. Do you?
Earthquakes? What's an earthquake?
Do you see one? I haven't ever had a problem, and I don't see any, but we have a horrible reputation out here for...
We lived in Van Nuys, which is in San Fernando Valley, during the 71 earthquake. We were only a couple miles from the epicenter. And one car came off the roof, came off the shelf, and it was a Lionel 217 caboose, which is a great big standard gauge caboose. It came off end first, and the hook, the little point on the end of the coupler went right through a station roof. But that's, and then we were there in...
Could you get one down and demonstrate for us?
Yeah, where's a roof I could sacrifice? And then in a few years later, we had another big earthquake, and one car came off. But that's the only thing that I've ever had problems. Now, all my shelves, back here I have track on the shelves. Up here, these shelves are all slotted with the wheels down.
Secured to the shelves?
Yes, it's hooked into the shelves.
Okay, so the track's not going to go anywhere.
And the trains are all held on the shelves by the flanges of the wheels down in the slots.
Oh, so they are grooved. Okay.
They are grooved. They're not just sitting on top of wood, they're actually held in place.
All right.
They can vibrate off the end, however, but I've never had the problem with that.
All right.
And then this is an Ives. This is kind of Ives right in here with an Ives, early Ives O-gauge passenger waiting area. This is a door fan tower, a door fan station. That's also a door fan station I restored, I got about a year ago. Door fan freight cars. Oh, and the gray, white, and brown building, that's Build Easy from the middle 20s. And the cardboard building to the side of it, that's Gilbert skyscraper architectural set from the mid-30s. I got a really good show back in New York. Chris, that Random American Flyer set is the rarest full-gauge passenger 75 flyer made. Sure, go ahead. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah, but I don't like to mess around. If you're going to throw, I want to go pocket. Well, thanks for letting us come visit your home here and see all the trains run in Grass Valley, and we look forward to seeing you at the TCA National Convention this year.
Well, glad to have you up, and be sure to come back.
We will.
We'd enjoy it, and we're looking forward to having the tours up here.
Well, here we are at Chuck Brasher's home in Grass Valley, California, and Chuck has invited us over to show us the trains that you're going to be showing off at the TCA National Convention in San Francisco this year. And Chuck, you just added a whole new addition to your train room, and I know you've worked hard to get it together. What do you think? Is it going to work?
Oh yeah, if I could ever get the rest of the accessories wired. Another couple of years I'll have that done.
Well, your layout is primarily, obviously, pre-World War II. And
1938 and back.
From 38 back, and it's primarily standard.
All standard gauge. Accessories, they made them for everything. The trains are all standard gauge. All American, no foreign.
One of the things that I know that you're well known for are the rare variations that you have, some very exotic pieces.
Oh yeah, I like those. If you can find them.
Tell me, what are some of the things that come to your mind when you that you like to show off here on the layout?
I like the Ives transition pieces, like accessories in the train and that. They're the hardest to find.
Show us some of those. Well, he'll cut over.
Okay. Well, this right here is a Ives Lionel Ives transition set, freight cars, 200 series freight cars with Ives plates and trucks and couplers on them. Very hard to find. And there's another real rare piece, this yellow brown caboose back there. 5-window caboose. There's very, very few of them around.
Now,
things like that.
A term that new collectors may not be familiar with is the transition cars. And
okay,
that means
that's where Lionel came in. First American Flyer, when Ives was falling behind in the Depression, American Flyer came in and backed them up and used their equipment and put the Ives names and plates and so on it. And then when they couldn't do it anymore, Lionel got in there and did that until about 1932, and that was the end of the whole thing.
So the transition was from Ives to American Flyer
and
to
then
Lionel.
Then you find, like this is really a three-piece. The base is American Flyer, the tank is Lionel, and the plates and the trucks are Ives. So there's all three manufacturers in that. And then let's go down over here and I'll show you. This is a good one to compare with. This is the Ives Black Diamond set, and this is the American Flyer President Special. If you see these cars and these cars are the same, they just took the American Flyer cars, painted them red and black, put the Ives plates on them, and made the Black Diamond out of them.
So that's the Black Diamond set that I've heard a lot about, but haven't seen very often.
No, you don't see too many. This one's about my worst condition set, all scratched up, but what can I do? take what you can get.
Well, you know, one of my favorite pieces on this whole layout is your Union Station. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is American Flyer, 1928, 1 year, made of cardboard and wood. See, it's just, if you look, it's just cardboard nailed over a wood frame. And they sold it for about the price that Ives and American Flyer were selling their metal stations for, so they just didn't sell, so they only made it for 1 year, and that was it.
And for that to sustain the number of years and come through without much damage is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, most of them are pretty beat up. A lot of them are missing the clock tower and the landscaping, the base. Some of the wood's missing on a lot of them. This one's pretty darn good shape.
And I noticed right in back of that, maybe not quite as rare, but the Lionel water tower back there in all gray.
In gray. Anything, the Lionel stuff, the later around 1936, we'll say 38 to 40 with the gray colors are extremely rare. This is Aero monorail made in St. Louis about 1931-32. It's cast out of aluminum, 2 halves of aluminum, and it runs on a track that's different than most of the track that we run the trains on. The center rail is the power, and this track is shaped the same, but they split it in half. One side's power and one's ground, and it's got an insulator right down the middle, and that runs the monorail, which runs on a little leather belt from the motor inside. And I don't know of another one, so I'm not sure how many are around. I know one thing, a lot of people would like to have one and haven't been able to find it since I got mine. But
let's see if it will run.
yeah, oh yeah, it'll run. It should. It should. My wife says that looks like Buck Rogers.
It is.
I'd love to have more tracks for it, but I can't get it. I can't find it. Got enough? This is a pretty hard accessory to get, the switch tower here, and this happens to be the hard color to get here. They made them in 2 different colors. American Flyer switch tower. Yeah, there's a lunchbox and there's a toolbox and all kinds of little things. Yeah. There's a super rare piece. When I got that, my wife, I got it from Les Morris. She got on the phone and she said, "Say, when are you going to send the rest of the paint for the roof?" But it's really rare. I mean, paint or no paint, you take what you can get.
Yeah.
And the station right next to it, that's exactly like a Lionel station, but it's in the Ives color. You've got Ives plates on it. Well, see this set right here, I've got the same thing with Ives, with the diner, with the full 4-car set with Ives decals on it, and which the diner is really hard to find. That's a tough one.
And then that's a door fan set right in back of it?
That's all the freight cars right there. Yeah. The engine is, somebody's repainted it, but I just...
That's in incredibly good shape. Usually they're just blowing apart like
I'm
crazy.
keeping it until I find a better... Well, there's a 12-wheel up there that runs, and 3 cars. The black one.
Right.
It runs.
Well, you know, we had one of those at Easy's when we were cleaning stuff out. When you turned it over, it was all mucked up on the other side.
That thing, they've got it on one of the videos coming right down this and around the crossing and down and away it goes.
I love these bridges you make too.
Oh, this? Yeah. See, the layout used to come up and went through these bridges and circle right around and back down. And then when I added on, I just made the whole thing 2 levels. Instead of coming around here, I just turned that way. And that way I was able to use this American Flyer bridge.
But see, most people don't do this because you have to have an incredible amount of space in order to get to climb because the
Well,
standard
that
trains
takes,
are so heavy.
that's about 20 feet. This ramp here,
About a 2% grade.
that's 3%. And over there, that one's 40-some feet and it's 2.25% or something like that. But I wasn't sure on the standard gauge whether it'd run up the ramps and that.
Yeah.
But it runs perfect. You can run any set, will go up and down the ramps. It doesn't seem to affect it at all.
As long as you don't get any oil in there.
Well, they got enough power. There's enough weight. They've got the power.
these plots are all very, very unusual. These are all Lionel. In fact, this one over here, I think, was a model of the house that belonged to Joshua Lionel Cowan, where he lived in Connecticut. What was your first train that got you started?
Standard gauge? Probably, well, probably the first standard gauge engine I had was like that Pocahontas engine back there, the green and cream one, but it had freight cars with it.
But that's not what you got as a kid. What did you get? What was your
Oh,
first
it's
train?
up there. It's 3/16 American O-gauge American Flyer up on the other end of the room. I still have that.
What was it?
Just a little, what are they, 420, little 420 engine,
yeah.
and red and white box car, green gondola, red caboose. $5.75 at May Company in Los Angeles, 1938 or 39, I mean. And we've got my wife's train, 1940 Lionel O-gauge.
What does your wife think of all of this?
Oh, she loves it.
Is she as involved in the trains as you are?
Yeah, she loves it. She's been going to college for years and missed a lot of meets, but she's been going to meets. She's the one that started me collecting.
Does she have any other interests herself that she collects?
Yeah, we collect antiques.
And besides antique toy trains?
And trains and antiques, that's it. Should stay. I used to collect O-gauge. Look at it. Now they're supposed to be able to loop, but I can't loop it. All I can do is crash it. What I did, and I've got a motor control dimmer wired in this. When I cut the power down, it wouldn't even work that well.
Well, Chuck, thanks for coming up,
Okay.
letting us come
Glad
up.
you
And
came.
we hope to see you down at the convention, and I know that the people on the tour that are coming up here are in for a major treat and seeing some rare things that they may never seen before and may never see again.
Well, I hope they enjoy it.
I certainly have, thanks.
Yeah, good, thanks.
What'd you like to tell us about first?
Well, first thing, a lot of them probably has never even seen. It's something simple, but this was made by Marx, and it's just really a neat piece. It's a circus, and I set up a circus scene with the little Mickey Mouse circus set, and I try to put a lot of things in little dioramas, you know, so you put, in other words, you accent the piece with something else, and then instead of just saying, well, I got a circus train, well, I make it look sort of, you know, interesting to the people that come. I used to live down south in the Pomona area, and the LA County Fair was a very famous fair, and of course they always had a monorail, and it sort of fascinated me. This monorail ran all over, so when I got lucky at York, I found a real nice monorail, so I set that up to make a nice scene also to go with the circus. And it makes sort of a nice circus scene, and I believe it reminds me of home down at the
That's a Leland,
LA County Fair.
that's a Leland monorail.
Leland
system.
monorail, Mark, and
From
4
Chicago?
cars. And well, I guess so. That's when they said they were made, around 1930, 31.
You also have a Union Station over here, which is a fairly rare piece.
That's pretty rare, and it sort of seems funny that the people are coming up to this area, and all 3 of us actually have that Union Station on their layouts. And of course, you just sort of have to be lucky sometime to get these pieces. They don't show up too often. And of course, another trick is you got to have the money when they do show. You know,
Where's the best place to find trains now?
Well, I still figure York, Mark.
Okay.
This piece right here is probably the only one in the country, and it came from York. And of course, this ribbon, it happened to be on display at the 25th silver anniversary of TTOS, so they went around and stuck ribbons on stuff, but I don't say much about that. But the idea is to find that piece at York was an awful nice piece to have.
I never knew it existed.
Yeah, well, a
But
lot of
it's-
people don't. It's only made 1 year, Mark. It's only made 1929, and
it's an
then
automatic-
to
it's
be
a
in that
manual-
condition, it's well, 381U is a manual 381E. In other words, the 381E, and then the kids had to put this together. See, this is the original motor, original wheels, and they had to take the wheels off, and then they could put gears, and they put it upside down, took the wheels out, and it was sort of hard, you know, really for kids to do, so apparently it wasn't a big seller. It was too expensive at the time, and they just didn't make very many of them. Well, the wife is very much into dolls and bears, and I'll move this chair for you.
And Christmas.
And Christmas, oh, absolutely, Santa Claus. This is probably her main piece in this deal, and it actually did come from York, but it came from us being on account of being back there. We went out to, after York, there's a big, probably largest flea market in the world called Rent-A-Cur's back there, and it's at a little town called Adamstown. And once in a while you used to be able to go out there and really get lucky. You could also find a train, you could find something really nice for your collection. So she found this there, and and as far as I know, it was made for what is that, Swartz, the company? Huh? F.A. Swartz, right. That was there, and that was for a Christmas. And it was all made by Steiff in Germany, and so it's got all these little Steiff animals and stuff in it, and it's an otter. He moves, and the reindeer moves. And
Well, they move.
yeah, it's an otter, Mark. It moves, you know, when you have it wind it up, and
So was it,
it
a
looks
store
like
display?
it looks like he's really going. Pardon?
Was it a store display?
Well, it's a
then?
display for FAO Swartz,
Okay,
department store.
So it wasn't a regular production?
Oh, absolutely not. No, they're probably, it's the only one I've ever seen that size. Now, I've seen some smaller. They made some smaller. But anyway, that's her deal. And then
Yeah.
she's got some very beautiful bisque dolls, if you want to try to get a picture of them. So the women that are coming on the tour are going to have a lot of fun here, because there's more than just trains. Sometimes the wives get pretty bored with trains, and coming to my place, I believe they'll see something else too that will be very enjoyable for them.
It looks like you've got a good cooperation going with your wife on that.
Yeah, we do. We're both collectors, and so it works out pretty nice.
So over here in your cabinet, you've got some very interesting collectibles. You've got the first train set you ever started with.
First one, a replica, I have to say, Mark, because I wasn't smart enough to keep my own very little train. I don't know if the camera can get that or not. It's a simple little Mark's Mercury set that's very hard to even find today, in very good shape. And so far, that's the best one I've been able to find. And it's not Manor by any means, but it's a exact replica of what I had. And I heard Santa Claus playing with that train. And it's sort of neat to
Holds
find
a lot of good
that.
memories
A lot
for
of
you.
memories, right? A lot of memories in that train.
And then the
And that-
Mark's Bunny Rabbit right in front of that.
Well, that's the Mark's Bunny train, and
And the Lionel
lot of-
Bunny car.
and then this is the track type. Pardon me, this is the floor type, and this is the track type. A lot of people don't know that there's two bunny trains, and it's just the only difference is the wheels. Well, they're both wind-ups. This one runs on the floor, and this one runs on the track. So they're nice replicas of the bunny from Lionel. And then this is sort of gas station stuff from Mark's. Mark's were a big toy company and supplied so many kids. I mean, they were the world's largest toy manufacturing company, there's no doubt about it. And they made some of the finest toys for the money. You know what I mean? We're talking about, 39 cents and 25 cents and stuff. So I never did see that in a catalog, so I don't know what the bunny train actually sold for. Some of these here I know sold for about $3. The little gas stations sell for about $3.25, and of course today they're anywhere from $700 to $1,000. Now back on the back wall is probably some of the nicest Ives of the trains. To me, it's hard to explain the company going out of business because they made such great and beautiful trains. Some of the prettiest trains that was ever made were made by Ives, and of course, in 1930, they went out of business. Well, they didn't actually go out right at that moment, but they were hurting, and Lionel was helping them. So the top two sets are really sold by Ives, but those are actually Lionel cars painted by Ives. And then right underneath them, the orange set, which they call the Halloween set, is the Ives Prosperity, which was made in 1920 29, and it was helped by Flyer. American Flyer helped them that year. So, and then under that's the Black Diamond set, which is also American Flyer cars, and that was all painted up by Ives, and they put Ives trucks and their Ives couplers on them, and then sold the sets. And apparently it didn't save the company, because finally Lionel did end up with the Ives train company that was really started even before Lionel. And as you go on around the corner over there, you'll just see some more Ives. I sort of favor Ives quite a bit, because a lot of people don't have it or don't collect it. And the top Ives is very rare Ives. It's little 1122 locomotive, 1132, but in brown, and very hard set to find. And behind it then is Lionel Ives cars. That's also transition cars. All Lionel cars, then sold by Ives and painted by Ives. That's why their colors are different. Then down underneath that would be a complete Ives set with a 1927 President Washington, which is a very rare locomotive also, and the only locomotive put out with a little engineer in the cab. And underneath that, you're back to Flyer Ives, and just some very nice trains there. This is quite a piece, and that during the war, Lionel had to go into war production. They weren't allowed to make trains after 1941. A few people claim they got a 42 set, but it was probably made in 41. And they went into war production. This happens to be what they call the azimuth circle, and apparently it either fit over a compass or something. They also made compass. In fact, there's this stuff that they made for the Navy type compass, and then this happens to be the azimuth circle, and they did wonderful work. The company made, if you wanted to get a close-up of that, look at that name in the wood and made by the Lionel Corporation right on there. And feel that box, you know, I mean, it's a real Rembrandt. So it's just something else that's hard to find, and if it's made by Lionel, I like it, I get it. We'll start over there, and it's coming around now, and it's a 390 passenger set. That was probably made in 1933 as far as the catalog says. And 3 cars, a lot of people's got it with a 318. They call it a baby state set. And I didn't particularly like it with a 318, so I run it with a 390, and it's cataloged that way. And it's just a very, very beautiful running train for that old, and it'll get up some speed and run away from the camera. And then we got trains at this end. This is going to keep the cameraman busy, this particular train here, because he's going to have a hard time following it, because it'll fool you. You think it's going one way and then it'll go another. When it gets down to the Y now, that set was probably made around 1927, so these trains are almost really getting to be, now it's going to come your way now through the Ives station. See that? Now while you're there, run the monorail. They don't do too much, just the idea it's a circle, but it's the idea that it does run, and They're fun to watch for a few minutes, you know, to see that old toys has got more track and more room. He's running a big grade, which they'll see when the ones on the tour mark will get to go right. You can see that same thing running a big grade, a little bigger.
We're here at the home of Lawrence Capuccio in San Leandro, and Lawrence was a host at the national convention that TCA has been holding in San Francisco. And Lawrence, why don't you tell us some of the things that you enjoy about railroading?
Well, I've been a collector, Mark, since 1977, aggressively. Had trains when I was a kid, of course. And got a pretty good collection of O-gauge. I operate O-gauge, and I also have a pre-war collection of pre-war Lionel and Ives. And the interesting thing is, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I got the Emmett G. Kelly set, which was G-gauge. And so I put a small loop over here in the corner. And as you can see, it's kind of grown. And I guess the reason for that is, with the size that it is, you get a little bit more of a feeling of momentum. And once I started operating more and modeling more, I found how easy it was to model in G-gauge. The scale isn't quite as critical, and there's a lot of stuff you can buy and incorporate into your layout.
Well, you've done a tremendous job of building these structures. I believe you built all of these yourself. These are not from kits, is that right?
That's right, Mark. My goal is for everything on the layout to be scratch built. Right now I have some porcelain houses over here that I took off of the O-gauge layout, but I have plans for all those buildings to be scratch built. And I do have some other scratch built buildings that you'll be seeing later on in the video.
You have some nice stone archwork that you've done right here with a little river with the tracks going through underneath. Very nice job. And all of this is redwood that has been cut off, California redwood?
Yeah. Actually, this section right here is supposed to be the Redwood Mountains in Santa Cruz. And this bridge here was done in exposed aggregate. I made the forms, poured it, sprayed it the way you would, and then there's a rock retaining wall here. And I do paint murals. And from what I've seen, I felt that I could paint a river to make it look more real than if it was actually running water here. And that worked out pretty good.
The thing that's amazing to me is that it's here in your attic, and you've done a fabulous job of being able to accommodate a lot of people and yet keep the fans going and so forth, and it has just a real romantic train collector feel to it, and I really like that.
G-gauge, of course, is engineered and manufactured to be outside. It's all weather resistant, and people have acres and acres of trains going in their yards with bonsai trees and running water, waterfalls. But I really need to play with my trains 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. So being in the house makes me able to do that. And this proves, on this layout here, you're going to see 14 trains running on 8 lines.
Wow.
So that just proves that you don't need a whole lot of space to run G-gauge.
Well, you've certainly done a great job. Let's take a look at the trains running, okay?
Okay. We're going to start right here with this mogul.
You don't know what he's going to use, so just...
And it's an expensive locomotive, but all G-gauge is not expensive. On this particular unit train of refrigerator cars, I'm running Bachmann Pepsi-Cola cars, which is a real inexpensive, but one of the prettiest refrigerator cars I think Bachmann ever produced. They're old-time woodside cars. Probably would have been on a narrow gauge railroad.
Probably haven't done this. That's your fourth one.
Huh?
That's your fourth one.
One of them. Yeah, they're all over.
Is that the LTV?
Yeah.
This is Barbara Jones, and she lives in Cupertino, and her home was open to the layout tour for the TCA National Convention, and we would like to show you some of her trains today. Barbara, can you tell us what is your fascination with toy trains?
I like motion and I like to be able to control it.
You also like color.
I like color. I like color. You forget these old black engines. Give me green and red and orange and purple and anything else. And of course the rarest car in this set is the rail car.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's two cars. They only have one bale instead of the three of a pole car. And the rails have not been crimped. So you know those are the right rails. They never had ties on them.
So you can tell there are never any ties applied, so it's not like you could take a piece of rail off of a piece of track and put it on there. You knew it.
We do it because we have to sometimes. But if you're lucky, you can get the originals like those are. The trench bags have usually rotted and gone to pieces in this set. So that's unusual to have those.
What's inside the trench bag?
Sand.
So it's actual marked sand?
Yes, I guess it's marked sand. And the copper set is not usually found in this condition. And the rarest passenger set they made is the Canadian Pacific set right up here.
Well, Barbara, you are a rarity in the train collecting world.
1%.
Just, I guess it's a hobby that's dominated by men, and here you are, not a lone woman, but a voice that speaks for a minority, certainly.
That's true, but we have a whole lot of fun doing it.
What got you? What started you in train collecting?
I saw an ad in the newspaper in 1979 and I answered it and bought a 1933 Lionel O-gauge train, and that was the beginning of the end.
So you
My father was in model railroading. He was also an employee of Key System trains during the war, and my son is in model railroading.
but you weren't a model railroader as a child.
I have no interest in model railroading to this day. I like toy trains.
And that's what we have here is a
Yes.
toy exhibit.
Yes.
I think I understand.
Most women prefer toy trains to model railroading because we like the color and the action and the noise.
And you like the operation too.
Very much.
And
very
you like
much.
to work on the trains.
Yes, I like to repair them.
And then
I repaired for a Lionel service station for 11 years.
and then so you make them work. You work on
Yes.
them. You take them apart.
If
you
they don't
service
work
them.
when I buy them, they work after a while.
That's very interesting. Thanks for letting us come.
Thank you.
We're here at the home of Bob May, who was the chairman of the TCA National Convention Home Layout Tours. So Bob, your collection is mostly standard gauge trains, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
You operate standard gauge trains.
Yes, and some O-gauge.
And so you have quite a collection of not just standard gauge, but a mixture of lots of different things.
Yes, we have some N-gauge and some Z-gauge, and I like trains. I like all of the trains. I got started back in 1928 when my parents bought me a wide gauge American Flyer Pocahontas for Christmas of that year. And I still have that train. It's operating right now on the layout, and I still have the boxes on the set carton for it.
Well, why don't you take us around and show us some of the things that are of most interest to you and in your collection.
Why, yes.
Where would you like to start?
We can start on this west wall over here. What you see on this wall is primarily pre-war trains. There are different manufacturers represented. I call my collection eclectic because it's things that I pick out that I like, where they are, and that's my personal taste. You will find American Flyer, Lionel, Ives, Marks, and even a Hoge.
Now tell us about this train in a suitcase down here.
And here's a little Z gauge made by Markland that I like. I carry it around with me from time to time, especially at Christmas time, where my wife and I go to some out-of-town area and hole up in a hotel and celebrate Christmas there. And we have to have a train, so we can have a train running around a tree, because I've always said, what's Christmas without a train running around a tree? And so we have it.
I love the backdrop. Here you have a German train. Looks like it's running through Pennsylvania Dutch farm country.
Yeah, as long as you can associate that with Germany, where this was made, you got it made. That's American Flyer's President Special that was made probably in 1928. Next we have Lionel's Stephen Girard set, made in the mid-30s. You know, as these motors warm up, they pick up speed. crossed over there. This is my boyhood train. That's the train my parents gave me in 1928. That particular one.
Put that right. A junk Lionel Model 33 cab. It's this is one that was in the junk pile, and it's of no value like that, not even if you put a motor under it. However, what I did is that I had another one, and I thought maybe I could make something out of it. So I took the center section and made a rail car out of it by taking the pieces that were left over from the bus that was at the front end of the Galloping Goose. Then I put a Lionel motor under it and turned down the wheels that were here originally, extended the axles out by putting new axles in and putting in another set of wheels so as to hold the whole thing together, and so it now runs on standard gauge.
Let's cut to, can you put it on and have it
Yeah.
actually operate?
Yeah, you can put it on track. Put on track one.
You mean, when you track one, you mean out here?
Yeah, let's track one. It normally goes down the track just like that. But sometimes the guys are in a hurry to get somewhere, so they...
Coming to make a potty stop.
Down here, I had the two end sections that were left over. And so I wanted to see what I could do with that. And so I fastened them together, added an engineer and a conductor, and also a couple of lights on the top, and a bell, and handrails. And I put a Model 60 streetcar chassis on the underside. And I have the flag up there so that it rotates when it bumps back and forth. And the flag moves back and forth depending upon which way it's going. And the lights are also directive. And we put that on the track.
And the bumper is also, it's made out of leftover pieces of rail racks that you display your trains on.
Yeah, leftover pieces. And I extended the axles out in order to be able to operate it on standard gauge. Now, it doesn't go very fast.
Well, it's a number 60.
That's the maximum speed. Now, it'll keep going that way until we have something to bump it with. I took an LGB Grizzly Flats trailer car, a number 60 streetcar chassis underneath, extended the wheels out, and fastened it very carefully to the body. And so we can put that on the track, and we'll see how that goes. On the other end down there.
Well, I reversed that one.
Okay, go ahead, that's fine. Now, I thought that was a pretty good idea, and so I figured, well, if we're going to have bumper cars on this, why not do another one? Another LGB trailer car with a 60 streetcar chassis under it. Now, 4 is a good idea. Why not 5? One was off the track. Put it wherever you want. Come on there.
Ready? Go ahead.
Here's an LGB Fortuna Flyer that was made for G gauge, just like some of the other cars that you've just seen. And what I did with this one was to extend the wheels out, and I put a roller mechanism in the center here for pickup on standard gauge, and we put it on standard gauge, and it operates the same way.
And it's air powered too.
No, I put a rectifier in it. I forgot to tell you that. Sometimes we want to send it on overnight mission, and there are no facilities inside, so I made some facilities that will hang on the outside on the back here. Use a truck and a platform, and I built this out of balsa wood. Well, it's not kit bashed, it's made out of balsa pieces of wood. And I put it on the track, and it attaches to the doodle bug. Okay.
But there was one like that I always kick myself for not buying.
I got it from somebody somewhere. The lights control the blocks. You can tell which block is on because of the light that's in it. The switches are custom made to show red for curve, green for straight. Red for curve, green for straight on all of these. So this one's in a curve mode, this one's in a straight mode. This voltmeter can measure voltage of a train on either track 1 or track 2 by pushing these buttons. It can also measure the current being drawn on each train on either track 1 or track 2 by pushing the right button.
And open it up one more time.
And this is what it takes to make it work. I designed it and built it.